First, get the generations back together. That's first. You know what I mean? And I think hip-hop is the culture to do it because, again, you have, I just turned 39 Friday. I have a 3-year-old who can b-boy. You know what I mean? Wow. I have a 3-year-old, you know what I mean? I'm raising them in the culture of hip-hop. I have Zulu meetings at the house. They listen to 70s funk, 80s funk, 3 or 4. They listen to conscious hip-hop. They see b-boys on Fridays. They see MCing. They see DJs or whatever. So personally, that's what I feel. I think we need to push more on getting hip hop like what Ninth Wonder and Kid are doing. They're going around colleges, Duke, Ivy League colleges, breaking down hip hop. The Ninth is like they are eating it up. The elder white folks like because they had it's just I don't like to say nigga. I like to say ninja. It's just ninjas talking. De La Soul had a skit one time that says it's just ninjas talking. So if we can switch that, you know what I mean, where they can ask like, oh, it was really a purpose and a meaning behind the culture. You know what I mean? Then we can, you know, I think we can better get it to the youth. Tell a story. Make it cool again to be positive. Make it cool again to love your mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make it cool again to, you know, love your brother, love your neighbor. Those are my personal. To me, I'm on step one. That's step one. We need to realign ourselves back with each other. You know what I mean? And if we do that, that's first. Because then hip hop, we're talking arts. That's one thing. But I'm heavy. Like the fifth element is knowledge itself. So once you get into the hip hop, will then help us teach the youth who they really are, where they really came from. Hip hop, I think, is the best way to explain it to children. You know what I mean? Children listen to hip hop artists more than they listen to presidents, preachers, and moms. Hip hop runs. Hip hop runs the world right now. But just imagine if these moguls would realize that, okay, well, I got more than enough money to live. This is why I think something's wrong with these people in their mind. I think something happens to people when they get more successful, like in the sight game. We got my man, he produced for the Woo, he produced Public Enemy. They here talking to us about hip hop. So that deads me, like, okay, well, I know cats that have been far up, you know what I mean, but have come back to the community. So now you have millions and millions of dollars. Why aren't you now trying to, you know, get it back? So.
I'm going to jump right off what he said.
He did it. We built it.
I mean, you hit it right in the head. We're talking about history, right? We're talking about history right now. And so if we brought in Paul McCartney from the Beatles, Paul McCartney would come and give us a history on what happened in Europe and British rock and the times and the culture and the so on and so forth. We brought in Mick Jagger. We brought in Phil Collins. Phil Collins would tell us about the 80s when the Yamaha DX7 came in. We started using all these electric sounds and so on and so forth. And it's unfortunate that in our community, because we work so hard to get on top, or we work so hard to gain something, that it seems like we're afraid to go back. It's just what he said. We're afraid to go back. And so how come you don't have, now I remember I went to the University of Rhode Island on a football scholarship, and I remember KRS-One came and gave a speech. And it was, this was back in 94, back in 93, 95. And it was, oh, right. And it was crazy because, you know, at that time, you know, I'm listening, you know, Biggie, Nas, you know, the whole, and at that time he came and he broke down, you know, hip hop, and you know how KRS-One is, you know, like how he talks and how he comes out, but it made you think. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just hip hop as something like we listen to or we b-boy to. It was a part of our history. Like this is a part of our expression, the way that we express ourselves. And I think when it's just a money game, it's just something. You know, I think Kanye compared the rap game to the crack game, which is almost like I'm just selling off packs, get my money, and I'm gonna do what I do. Then I looking at it as this is a part of history. This is you're a voice, so you're obligated you know what I'm saying, to come back and to teach. And so in the same way that he said, like, I think that the way that you pass it on is you have to view it from that perspective. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the schools are not going to view it from that perspective. You have certain colleges like that are teaching Tupac's, you know, have a class on Tupac and his writings and different things like that. I think some of those things are so significant. You know what I'm saying? Because if we said that we want to have a class on one of the Beatles, or we want to have a class with somebody else, I think as Americans, because of the conditioning, we wouldn't think nothing of it. Oh, it's the Beatles. Okay, yeah, we're going to have a class on that. But as soon as we're going to have a class on Tupac, oh, what's that about? What they going to do up in there? You know what I'm saying? We're going to do history. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a history lesson. You know what I'm saying? And so I think we have to view it as history, and it holds a large space in history. It holds a large space, and not just black culture, because hip hop is one of those things. I've been able to go to 2 Biggie Smalls concerts. I went to a Group Home concert, Big L concert, Mary J. Blige, Craig Mack, Junior Mafia. When I went to all those concerts, everybody was there. Black, white, Hispanic, everybody was at the concerts. You know what I'm saying? So it's a part of black culture, but it's a part of culture in general. It's touched. You got dudes in Asia that don't speak English and know all the Method Man's lyrics.
Yeah, straight up.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying?
They go hard in Japan.
You know what I mean? So it's you know what I'm saying? We can't just act like and allow the perception to be like this is some little thing that's relegated to the culture. They do that, they don't grow out of it when they get older, and so on and so forth. It's a part of history. And just to end what I gotta say, I think secondly, I think this time in history is critical because, you know, I'm 36 years old. I have a 9-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. I have 2 girls. Now, my dad, who's in his 60s, you know what I'm saying, he listened to Motown and all that type stuff. And so when hip hop came along, there was a generational gap. You know what I'm saying? And then with his father and father before, my grandfather, my father and my grandfather, there was a generational gap. But this is the first time in history where, because I do a lot of mentoring, so I got a lot of young men that come into my program. This is one of the fewer times in history where I have a 14-year-old come into my studio with an iPod with Rakim on it. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's almost like, you know, we're coming of age where it's like the second generation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're like the second wave of dudes that's like, okay, we lived this thing. We were born into this thing. This was our Motown. You know what I'm saying? This was our Beatles. This was our disco. You know, this was it. And so now, if my daughter, when my daughter's listening to hip hop, I am an originator. I am somebody that can say, man, you don't know about dramatic MCs, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't know about when Run DMC first came on. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. I can actually break it down to her, and I think some of that gap is closing in. I think some of that gap can close in now. We just have to be willing to, make that time available, you know, to the young dudes, and try to get over that mindset. Because we all have this mindset, I think, sometimes in our culture, I'm going to get mine. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get mine if what you say. You know, I had an argument with a dude, he told me that Lil Boosie was hotter than Busta Rhymes. I'm like, wow. Have a seat, young man. Have a seat. Challenge you real quick. You know what I'm saying? You know how many albums Lil Boosie got to come out with? You know what I'm saying? Right. And they got to be dope. And they got to be dope. You know what I'm saying? Do you know how long that career is? Do you know the history behind that? You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of education that needs to be had, but I think the time is now to do that because that gap I think is shrinking somewhat, at least in this moment. I think that gap is somewhat shrinking. It's still a division because of the pop thing, but I think the gap is shrinking somewhat. But I think we have to view it bigger than just like this is just like some cultural thing. This is a part of American history. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about world wars and when you talk about this that happened, you talk about the peace, love movement that happened when everybody was smoking weed and going to all that. You have to talk about this as well. You know what I'm saying? You have to talk about the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? You have to talk about what happened in hip hop. I mean, so.
Well, my question, I mean, when y'all was talking, you said educating, right? Now, you do have a lost generation out there. That's a crack generation. True.